How are you today?
I am well, thank you.
So what brings you in for a lesson today?
Well, I need a little help with my short game,
Okay.
particularly my chip shots.
All right.
I'm inconsistent, and I just can't figure out what I'm doing wrong.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about your golf. Where did you start?
Well, I've only been golfing for about a year.
Okay.
And I've been taking lessons steadily, and I've been progressing well, but I've just hit this snag. So I'd like to see if I can't get myself unstuck.
Unstuck. Well, let's see if we can't get you unstuck today.
Okay.
So you play golf. Are there any other sports that you do?
No, not really.
No.
Not as consistently as I play golf. I try to play at least once a week.
Okay. Wow, that's ambitious.
Yeah.
I don't even get to play once a week. How about any other hobbies you might have?
Hobbies that I might have. I have a farm that I take care of, and I do a lot of gardening.
Okay.
But that's about it in the hobby department.
All right. What do you do for work?
Actually, I help run a hospital. I'm an attorney, and I help run a hospital.
Wow. That sounds like an even bigger job on many levels.
Well, that's why golf helps.
Okay.
That's why golf helps.
Golf gets you out of that environment, and you can go hit a little white ball whenever you feel like it.
Exactly.
Once a week.
At least once a week.
Good for
Yeah.
you. Well, before we get started, do you have any kind of a warm-up routine that you do?
Yes, I try to be very,
Regularly?
very diligent about warming up, stretching back, legs, and arms.
Okay. Would you mind showing me some of those?
Sure.
So I can just make sure you're doing some really good ones for this sport.
Okay.
If you're work on a farm, I'm sure you're probably moving bales of hay or, whatever you might move on a farm. I have no idea, but you look like you're in pretty good condition, so you must have some routines about stretching to avoid injuries.
To avoid injury,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
So I typically start with stretching out my back and keeping my hips stationary as much as I can, and just gently, stretching out my back, doing that a couple of times, and then going all the way around.
Oh, going all pretzel.
Yeah, all
Okay.
all the way around on
Pretzel.
both sides. I'll do that before I start. Thinking about my hips and my legs, I'll go down,
That's a very good one.
cross on both sides.
That's also a good one.
Cross on both
Very
sides.
good.
And then, depending on how I feel, I might do some swings, and then I always finish up stretching
Okay,
out
good.
my
I was
arms.
hoping you'd come to this one because this one is really one of the big ones, especially for the shoulders. Okay, yeah, that's really a good
Yeah,
one. And if we're going to stretch this way, find yourself a post or something where you can, you're going to lean into it and you're going to stretch that
stretch
muscle
okay.
the other way. Because if we're always stretching a muscle this way, we're never really giving this a chance back the other way. So just kind of think about that. You can do it in a door jam at home, or just find a pole, and that'll actually get you to where you're really feeling a stretch both ways.
I feel the difference just doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So one thought about today, basically I have two questions. We're going to talk about goals. So if you have one goal today that would, really make a difference, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, so I heard you say chipping, so we're going to work on chipping. What would a long-term goal be? So
Building on getting a little more comfortable and a little more consistent with my chipping, I think is probably a long-term goal I'd like. I find that when I'm playing, it's one of those shots that just it doesn't really intimidate me, but my concentration breaks, and I'm not as focused when I chip. Maybe it's because it can come at you so many different ways. It can be short, it can be long, it can be uphill, it can be downhill, and I'm just not consistent. So I'd really like to work on that, getting solid on that, so I can be consistent regardless of what terrain I'm facing.
okay, well, definitely that's a good place to start, because in chipping, there's so many elevation changes. You can have a shot where you've got to go uphill, or you might have a shot where you're chipping downhill, or it just might be level. So when you're wanting to improve all of those types of short game shots, there's gonna be some differences how we set up and how we adjust the swing length. So once we get comfortable with doing a few shots here, we will, you know, talk about a little uphill and a little downhill. Most of these changes that we're going to talk about today, I want them to be effective and efficient and compatible to you.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. It makes sense.
So your learning style, how would you describe the way you learn?
I'm a kinetic learner.
Okay.
I can take information in visually and by listening, but I have to do it.
You have to do it.
I have to do it, and I respond. I mean, I love seeing a good shot, but I like hearing a good shot too.
Okay, so everything, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, very good.
Yeah.
So as we begin to you know, move through this lesson today, I will propose some drills,
Okay.
and lay out a plan for practice, so you can take that to the range, or you know, wherever you go, whatever course you might play at. Sound good?
Sounds like a plan. I like that.
All right, so let's take a look at your iron,
Okay.
before we start hitting any golf balls. So I see you've got a set of pings, and I have to ask the question, were you fit to these clubs?
Yes, it was.
Did you have something before this?
I did. I had a prior set of pings, but the shaft was not as stiff, and the club face was more toe up than this, and I sort of outgrew those.
Okay, so the lie angle wasn't quite right.
Correct.
How did you know the lie angle wasn't right?
Because I seemed to be deflecting everything to the right,
Okay,
and I wasn't hitting the ball in the right places.
so ball flight was a problem.
Ball flight was a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I will, you know, be able to look at this and see how that ball flight is performing with these particular clubs today. So great that you've got these clubs fit, because it's like anything else. It's like a pair of shoes. You're not going to go out and buy a pair of shoes that aren't fit, because you wouldn't walk right. So same with the golf clubs. You're going to get something that's going to really be fit to you, both length, size of the grip, and the lie angle is really critical. That's going to help you get all these chipping and all these short game goals achieved.
Okay.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, so let's talk about an improvement strategy today.
Okay.
So in order for us to start off with consistent and accurate ball flight or direction, let's talk about setup, because once we get the setup correct, setup is really the foundation for all of our shots, but in particular when we're working on the short game really does take extra time to be more aware of where our body is, where our feet are, judging how far we're going to make a swing to realize how far the ball is going to go. All those things come into play, so setup is really important. Why don't you show me how you set up to this chip shot? I put up a target here. Let me just go ahead and fix it real quick. And I just want to get an idea how you're actually making your setup and your swing right now, so we know how to go forward.
Okay.
Okay? That's your setup, okay? Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and make a swing, okay? Wasn't too bad. Got that on the net all right?
Another one?
Sure. I'm going to ask you a question. What did that swing feel like?
It didn't feel smooth. It didn't feel, I'm not sure what it felt like, but I can tell you what it didn't feel like.
Okay.
It didn't feel smooth. It didn't feel prepared for.
Okay.
and I didn't feel like I connected well with the ball.
Okay.
I felt like I pushed it, and as opposed to hitting it.
I'm gonna use a word here that maybe you've heard before. Did you have any sense that you were trying to lift the ball?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what we call that? Scooping.
Scooping.
So
That's a good word.
whenever we're trying to scoop the ball, we're trying to help lift it up, it's not gonna feel solid. It's not gonna feel smooth. It's not gonna feel like you're actually getting your club through the ball. So let's consider a couple points. When we're talking about short game, can you be specific for me what distance is really troubling you right now or giving you some frustration? What distance, meaning it can be feet or it can be yards.
Okay. It really is when a full swing is too much.
Okay.
And a nice little, tap is not enough. So I'd say probably in the 40 to 15 yard range.
Okay.
Something like that.
All right. So that's going to talk about the difference between a pitch and a chip then. So
Sure.
a chip is going to be when we're typically, I would say 5 to maybe 10 feet off the green, where a pitch is going to be in that 10 yards, 15 yards, up to that 40 yards. So that's going to be the difference in what club you might choose. So you might choose a less lofted club for a chip because you want to keep that ball low and it's going to get some roll to it. If you're talking about that 40-yard shot, you're going to want to use your pitching wedge, maybe even your sand wedge. That might be a half swing. It might be a 3/4 swing, just depending on the next key point is going to be the speed of your swing. So the speed of your swing is also going to tell you how far the ball is going to go. So you can make that 3/4 swing very smooth and soft and achieve a nice high ball flight with a soft landing, as opposed to a 3/4 swing with a fast speed, and then that ball is going to go a lot farther. So chipping, now I've explained the difference between a chip and a pitch. What shot would you typically use for the yardage that you're struggling with now?
I think that's probably part of my problem is I was approaching it more as a chip shot than a pitch shot.
Okay.
And so I wasn't getting where I needed to go. Or I would really do a hard swing and overshoot
Okay.
my objective. So I probably wasn't very clear on those two shots and the two differences in the clubs.
Okay. Are you understanding that if you take a shorter swing with a softer speed, it's going to influence the distance?
Yes.
That makes sense?
That makes sense.
Okay, so do you like to see the ball go high in loft, or do you like a ball flight that's going to be low? Do you know what you like?
I think I like a nice loft.
Okay, so that'll definitely be the pitch shot.
Mm-hmm.
So you will use your higher lofted clubs, which would be a pitching wedge or sand wedge, maybe a gap wedge or a lob wedge. So we're going to talk about the pre-motion component, and that's going to be your setup.
Okay.
So everything that I see you're doing pretty well. One area that I might, let's make a change in, is the width of your stance.
Okay.
So you set up where you've got quite a wide stance for a short shot. So typically, what I would like to see is that you get your feet a little closer together.
Okay.
So that looks pretty good. And when we're making their shots for a short, in short game, we typically want to have more weight on our front foot. So it would be like you're going to, keep a little more weight anchored, I'll say that, use that word, anchored on the front side, versus letting yourself kind of fall backwards and get that feeling of lifting the ball or scooping it. Because then you get yourself set up, you're going to be more stable. You're going to have a stronger foundation just by keeping this leading edge and the weight on your front side. That club's going to be moving forward, okay?
Okay.
So go ahead and take a setup with the ball. Let's grab that one. And I've got some lines here that will just kind of talk about, you know, a path to your target. So just that being said, if you can make your setup line up and with that narrower stance now,
Okay.
and show me how you're gonna let your weight be, you're gonna lean into that front foot better.
Mhm.
So
That's what I feel. I'm leaning
Yeah.
a little bit.
That
But it's
was-
comfortable. It's comfortable.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's the idea, is that we want it to be comfortable and compatible to you without, you know, being uncomfortable, but you're gonna be able to produce the shot that you haven't been able to produce now.
Okay. Go ahead and take a swing.
Go ahead and take a swing. It's okay, it's new. We're making a change. So when we make a change, it takes time to
Takes time.
get used to it.
Is my distance okay? You think from?
Your distance looks good. Your
Okay.
setup looks really good. How did that feel?
That felt better. That felt much better.
Well, it sounded better. Just gonna walk over here.
The anchor idea and the moving forward idea is really helpful because I can't scoop.
You can't scoop
When I'm
this
set up
way.
like this, I can't scoop. That's the main difference in how it feels. That felt
That's
good.
pretty good. That's
That felt
pretty good. All right, so when we're talking about setup, you know, in the whole swing, setup that's the most solid part of your swing. Everything starts with setup. When you have your shot visualized in your mind, what you want to do, because you're a kinetic, you've got to feel it.
Mm-hmm.
You might introduce a practice swing. So you've got that rhythm, you've got the
okay.
length of the swing down before you step up and make that shot. Just think of it as a rehearsal. So you want to you can look at that target and you can make that swing, so you're judging that distance and trying to feel, because you're a kinetic player, you've got to feel it. So you've got to set your intention now. How does that swing feel? How do I want that swing to feel so that ball's going to go where I want it to go?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense. I like that idea. I like that notion a lot.
So I can see that your feet are still a little
Yeah,
wide.
they're still a little wide.
Okay. Go ahead and
Do
hit
another
this
ball,
ball.
another shot.
Sure. How'd that feel?
Felt pretty good.
So I see that you're still struggling a little bit with the width of your stance.
Mhm.
So let's trade places and I'm going to demonstrate for
Okay.
you, okay? So one of the things about setup with short game, and again, this is going to depend on how far your shot's going to go. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to keep your feet pretty narrow, and it can be, you know, the width of your club head,
Mm-hmm.
maybe one or maybe two, just to kind of get an idea how that would feel for you. And we're going to place the ball, you know, just inside right of center.
Okay.
Okay, so imagine that, you know, I'm here and I still have my weight on this front foot, but I've got my feet very close together.
Mhm.
I've got my left foot dropped back just a little bit, and that's gonna promote me to easily get my weight on that front foot.
Okay.
So if I'm gonna do that and I'm gonna make this practice swing, I'm just judging the length and the speed to reach that target. So that's how I want you to get your setup and feel, because if you implement this kind of a pre-shot routine
Mhm.
by making a practice swing and then stepping up to the ball, it's going to flow a little bit better for you.
Okay.
Want to give it a try?
I do. So you had me had your feet at about even narrower?
Well, that looks pretty good.
Okay.
So here, let's do this. My name starts with V, right?
Right.
So we're going to use a little metaphor here. You're going to position your feet to make a V,
Okay.
okay? And then you can drop that left foot back just a little bit. So think about your short game always starting with a V.
Okay.
At least with your setup for chipping and pitching.
Pitching. Okay.
Okay?
So that looks
Really good.
It feels good.
Okay.
It feels good.
And then where's your weight going to be? On the front foot.
Right here. You've got I've got my imaginary ball on the inside of my left leg.
Yeah. Very good.
A little better.
Yes. Okay.
So I'll establish my V.
Okay. Let's do one more.
Still scooped a
Let's do
little
one
bit.
more. That was a lot better.
A lot better. Felt a lot better.
Very good. So
Felt a lot
once you
better.
get that feeling that, your feet have to be shaped, it's gotta look like a V.
Mm-hmm.
And so just talking a little bit about drills now that's gonna get you settled into this improvement strategy of making your short game life better, okay? So let's just talk about how are you gonna reinforce those drills? So the way to reinforce those drills is you're gonna just make several swings, because it has to come, from within. You've got a natural internal tempo. So the way to really feel it, you've got to repeat it over and over again, so it gets natural, so it gets automatic. Once it gets automatic, then you'll have it. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. That's the consistency I'm looking for. Because I wasn't consistent, I wasn't getting to that sense where it was automatic.
Okay.
Where it was happening with other shots, it wasn't happening with this one.
Okay.
So
Well, that's
this
good
will
to know.
help.
Well, that's good to know. So, I'm just wondering if there's anything else that we've talked about today that is going to help you perform this shot even better, even long term.
Even, I think just the notion of the practice shots and the tempo, and the fact that it's okay to do 2 or 3 and get that sort of that rhythm and that feel before I take the shot that counts.
Okay.
And I'm really excited to go try this.
Well, good, because we've really made a change with your setup today, and you were hitting that target pretty right on. So I think you realize that there is a change in that process of how you set up, what you're going to do, make the swing length. Do you understand the improvement strategy then with, okay?
I do. It's very clear.
It all makes sense.
It all makes sense.
Okay, well, all I can say is that I'm really glad I had this time with you today. And in the future, when you're working on your short game, always think about the length of your swing and being just staying real upbeat and positive, because once you stay upbeat and positive, you're gonna play your best golf. Sound good?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Deb.
Thanks, Val.
Okay.